In this episode, I'll talk about how shifting your identity to the identity of an athlete can be one of the most powerful and transformative things that you do to see personal transformation in this coming year. So tune in and take notes.
Welcome to the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we hear and learn from our coaches, CrossFitters, and Glen Ed community leaders. Now, here are your hosts, Dallas and Greg.
So this past week, I went on my annual trip to Wisconsin, what my family calls the winter sports trip. And this is where me, my wife, my son, we drive up to Wisconsin to do winter sports there together. It's become an annual tradition of ours and something that's super, super cool and super exciting for me is that me, age 42 now, and my son, age 12, this year and last year, we've been able to go and actually hit the slopes, me on a snowboard, him on skis, to go and hit the slopes together and actually shred the slopes together and race each other down the mountains, or even just like ride side by side together, going up the ski lift together, riding down together. And this has been one of the most rewarding things that I've experienced. And I was reflecting on like the magic of this experience, being able to share this with my son and have a super fun time making these amazing memories with my son. And I was reflecting on, gosh, it's really cool to be the fit dad that can actually do this stuff with my son. And then I was asking myself, like, what is it that's actually made this possible? First thing, like, all glory to the Lord for the opportunity, the health, the blessing to be able to do these things with my son, to have the resources where we could drive to Wisconsin in the first place and then get the ski lift and the equipment and all that. So I'm thankful to the Lord for all of it first. But second, it's like, well, what have I done that actually made this possible? And when I think about it, it's like all the hard work that I put in throughout the year in the gym, doing the heavy lifting for strength, doing the cardio for the conditioning, the agility, the coordination, the stamina building, the stability building, core stability stuff. It's the sum total of all the things that I do to drive my fitness, eating healthy and exercising in a certain way and prioritizing sleep and getting vitamins and minerals and getting sunlight and cold exposure. Like all these things were the recipe or the ingredients that drove the recipe that made it possible for me to go and have these magic moments with my son. And it's like, I realized this is part of what is so powerful about the CrossFit methodology, where we identify as athletes. And in CrossFit culture, that is how we describe this. That is how we frame this. We consider all of our clients at CrossFit gyms, the people we coach at CrossFit gyms, we call them athletes. They call them CrossFit athletes. And most of us are not athletes necessarily in the sense of we go out, we play baseball, we go out, we play football, but more in the sense like we are athletes for life. And I bring this up and I talk about the power of this frame, of this perspective, because it is one of the most powerful drivers of human behavior to be congruent with how we view ourselves and the identity to which we identify. What I'm saying, and I'm not the first one to say this, I believe Tony Robbins has said this as well, that all people naturally are drawn toward doing things that are congruent with how they see themselves. If you see yourself as a spender, a shopaholic, then you'll gravitate toward behaviors that are congruent with that. If you see yourself as a smoker, it is going to be very difficult or even impossible to quit smoking if you see yourself as I am a smoker, or if you see yourself, I am a drinker, then it's going to be a lot easier to do things that are congruent with that identity, basically. And this is true both for the negative things and also the positive things. And I bring it back to the CrossFit perspective of we consider ourselves to be athletes. Well, if you shift your identity from being, I'm a dad, I'm a pilot for Boeing, I work for American Airlines, or I'm a project manager, or I'm an accountant, or whatever the day job is, right? If you see yourself just as that, it is easier to let work stuff or kid sports stuff just completely steamroll your entire life, because you're being congruent with the identity you have is, well, I'm a good dad, and so therefore I'm going to do all these dad related things. But if you have an identity also as an athlete, it is much easier then to look at your life, look at your calendar through that filter, through that lens, and make good decisions that actually empower you to go out and do cool stuff, whether it's playing sports with your son, skiing or snowboarding down a hill with your son. And that frame of reference is a very powerful transformation tool for that reason, because it makes you see the world in a different way. When you view yourself as an athlete, then you look at your calendar and say, okay, I need to have an outlet for developing strength and cardiovascular endurance and muscular stamina and speed and power. Like, if I'm going to be, when am I going to do my sport, which could be CrossFit, for example? You put that onto your calendar as the activity, and then the other things that you do. Here is how I eat. Here is how I sleep. Here's the time that I spend out in nature, or whatever are the drivers of health for you. This is the time that I spend doing my meal prep, packing my foods to take with me to work. The behaviors fall more naturally into place when you view your life through that lens of, I'm an athlete, now I need to act accordingly. And I think this could be a very powerful perspective shift for somebody out there who maybe isn't yet a CrossFit athlete, or maybe you've joined CrossFit and you're still trying to wrap your brain around why we consider ourselves to be athletes, why we describe ourselves that way, and why coaches call us those things. And hopefully all of this makes sense to you guys, because if you can begin to wrap your identity around something more empowering, this year is going to be the best year you've ever had. And it's going to drive you, and naturally, not only will you be pushed away from activities that are not congruent with your identity, but you'll also be pulled toward things that are favorable and positive and energetic and, again, uplifting and support you in that new identity. And it's helpful to then sit down and write out for yourself, what is my new empowering identity? How do I view myself? Who do I want to be? Not just what things do I want to do, but who do I need to become in order to do the things that I want to do? Maybe I want to have this experience with my family. I want to do this experience with my brothers. I want to play this sport. I want to be able to run this race, do this obstacle course thing, whatever it is for you. Okay, that is the do. That's the thing I want to work towards. What kind of person do I need to be now to make that happen? What kind of person is the kind of person that trains for that race, that trains for that weekend competitive event? What would that person do? Who is that person? That's an athlete. What kind of person then do I need to be? Who do I step into becoming? What do I need to let go of? And what do I need? How do I need to see myself differently if I'm going to step into being this new, better, upgraded 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 evolved version of myself? Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And if it does, tell me in the comments below, who do you want to step into being this coming year? I'd love to hear from you guys. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll keep the conversation going. Thanks for your time and your attention, Here's my son to close us out.
Thanks for listening to my dad's podcast. For more useful tools and guidance, go to CrossFitEdwardsville.com and feel free to like, share, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comment sections down below. See you in the next episode.